Michael, may I ask that you move to the next seat? Yes. Thank you very much. Pardon me. And I'm going to be inviting Ungoya Kalango, the regional head of sales for Verify Me, West Africa, to come join us up here. Please, can we put our hands together for her? I would like her to sit beside the moderator so that she balances the gender. It is the way we go, as a matter of fact. You're welcome. The microphone is by your side, and then we will kick off as the case might be. I'll be expecting Dr. Oluwatomi Oromosele, if he's ably represented or not, but I'm going to be expecting him. He's been ready. Okay. Oh, fantastic. Please, can you put your hands together for her? General Manager Efina. Efina has been one of my clients, and it's great to see that we have you here. And Efina has been doing so much in terms of the publication, especially with the concept and the content for financial inclusion. Without Efina's report, oftentimes we don't know how the industry's image is going to be. We know that projection comes in as the case might be. It's very good to see you, Dr. Oluwatomi. I'm glad. So right now, for the next 45 minutes, Dr. Salako, you are in charge. You know how it's going to work. We have one more person. Is that Kalu? No. Tommy? No. John Dada. All right. Mr. John Dada, how could I have omitted you? The COO of Curacell. Please, can you come up? Pardon me. Please, can you put your hands together for him? Thank you very much. It's great that you are here. As a matter of fact, that is going to make my panel well balanced. You know, that is great. So we have 2 ladies, 2 men, excluding my moderator, who actually has both gender, as a matter of fact, male and female to himself. So ladies and gentlemen, over to you, Dr. Salako. Please put your hands together for them for the next 45 minutes, sir. So when I come up here, you know we're going to take the Q&A session as well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, one more time. Over to you, Dr. Tunde.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I don't know the part, just a disclaimer. I'm not sure about the part where he said male and female combined together. So I'm just going to, So it's nice to be here, everyone. Thank you for coming in early. Good morning, esteemed panelists. My name is Tunde. I'm managing partner at Africa InsurTech Lab. And because of time, I'm going to let my esteemed panelists also introduce themselves very quickly. And then we'll delve into the theme, which we believe is very, very critical. And that's why the Nigerian FinTech Week has actually designated this segment to talk about how insurance technology is going to unlock new markets, particularly when it comes to the issue of inclusion and deepening penetration. So without further ado, I'd like to start from next to me, and please introduce yourselves, your designation, and what you do for your organization. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Noya Kalango. I am the regional head of sales for West Africa at Core ID, a Verify Me company. At Core ID, we pride ourselves in providing trusted identities and consumer analytics for organizations in order to, streamline and make their onboarding, profiling, and compliance efficient. I'm very happy to be on the panel, and I look forward to an engaging conversation.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael. I lead InsurTech for the health insurance businesses. We're proud to see that we're a foremost digital insurance company. I'm super excited to be engaging the InsurTech community because I know that together we can actually deepen penetration. So I'm looking forward to an awesome engagement with my fellow panelists.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Oluwatomi Oromosele. I currently head FINA, and we're focused on financial inclusion. In the last 15 years, we've championed access to finance for Nigerians. And I'm super excited that on the panel today, and as part of this, awesome event, we are interested in seeing how we can extend financial inclusion to all of Nigerians and ensure that no one is left behind. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. John Dada. You can also call me Dr. Flash, because that's the only way I know you're referring to me. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Curacell. And at Curacell, we are focused on driving up the insurance inclusion in Africa. And we believe that technology is one way to do this by making sure that insurance processes are efficient, there is no wastage, there is no fraud, and that there is efficient distribution of insurance products across the continent. It's an honor to be here, and I look forward to us having an interesting time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, esteemed panelists. I think, as you can see, it's an A-list of a different combination of people within the insurance space that are doing different things, from the technology startup to the research-driven community, ably represented, to the incumbent who is cross-carpeting to being a tech startup, and of course, to another tech startup. So we'll delve straight into it. And for context, when we're looking at the team, how are we going to leverage insurance technology for inclusion? And how does that create empowerment? Now, when we look at the fundamental problems, we look at affordability, accessibility, availability. Those three things continue to engender the gap to widen. And obviously, everyone on this panel is trying to do something that will close that protection gap, right? And then when we now come into Africa, we look at the penetration rates. We look at Africa being home to about 18% of the global population, still having the penetration insurance-wise less than 3 to 4%. And when we come home into Nigeria, we have the same similar statistics, less than 2.5%, 3%. Now, product relevance is also an issue. And the major problem, trust deficits, right? A lot of people do not believe in insurance, for starters. So I'd like to set this ball rolling by asking, from your organization's perspective, what you're doing, how can you explain how you're using this as a use case, your organization as a use case, to serving underserved markets, reaching out to, the places that are yet to even fathom what insurance is? What are you doing? I'd like to start with Flash. What are you doing in your organization regarding that?
Thanks, Doc. It's actually pretty interesting that myself and Dr. Oluwatomi here were having a short chat earlier this morning about the fact that the way we picture the underserved population is actually inaccurate or maybe not complete, right? And our point, sorry, I'm stealing your point, but what she said was that aside the people that we have on the markets, the market women or the guys who are pushing trucks or the conductors who we think are the underserved, think about those of us who already have access to certain kind of services. We already have banking services. We already have access to other financial services, but we still do not have access to insurance. We actually contribute to another section of the underserved, right? And that's a very nice one she raised this morning. And what we are doing at Curacell, for instance, in my organization, is to ensure that distribution is embedded. So imagine you are able to get insurance by carrying out your daily activities. You're going grocery shopping, you're buying something online, you're doing a bank transfer, you're buying airtime, all of these touch points, insurance being available to you there. That is embedded insurance. And for us in Curacell, we are really passionate about making sure that everyone, irrespective of where they are, can actually get insurance when they are carrying about their daily lives. So embedded insurance is what we're really focused on as one of our strategies to drive availability and I think accessibility. All right. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Flash. Dr. Somi, from your perspective, we've seen a lot of phenomenal work that you're doing in the space. And I think I referenced one that was published 2021 that had to do with the reasons why a group of people, I think they were farmers specifically, in the suburbs and the rural area were not taking on insurance, right? So from a research perspective and from all the data that you've been able to gather, what can you chime in regarding why there's such a gap right? Still talking about this underserved population. What are you seeing from the data?
So I think you've spoken to some of them earlier on. When it comes to insurance, there's a popular saying that insurance is sold, it's not bought, right? And so for it to be sold, it means someone has to clearly communicate to you why you need to buy it and convince you that it's something that you need. What we see is that awareness, and I think someone spoke to that earlier in the conversation, is that over 90% of Nigerians are not aware of insurance, and even more of micro insurance. Because again, when we talk of the underserved, we're talking about more of micro insurance, because again, we're speaking to small, more frequent payments. But then these guys are not even aware. How do you take up something that you're not aware of? Number one is, that's the question. The second layer is, if you're not aware of something, how do you trust that something? How do you even get convinced to take up that product? So I think, and I think we're all aware of that fact that in rural areas where we have less infrastructure to support financial access points, there is a much more less likelihood that people will be aware or even engage with insurance. Interestingly, what I looked through the data just in preparation for this, and I noticed that for health insurance, we have almost the same percentage of people in rural and urban areas that are using health insurance. So over about 55% of people in urban areas have health insurance, about 50% in rural areas have health insurance. And you'll see that what has happened is the health system have found a way, and because health is something that people need, it's more easy to sell when your health is at stake, right? But also is the fact that there is an ecosystem that has been leveraged to drive that, which I think other ecosystems need to leverage on. But my point being, there's the issue of awareness. I think that's the biggest issue. But again, how do you sell it except you have a product that is useful, that you can demonstrate the value to me? So I think another thing, challenge is actually the value proposition that we have put forward up till now. Why should I pick it up? How am I sure? The trust factor. So I think all of this, in addition to the issues you've mentioned, accessibility, and all of that. But again, my point is that technology is good, it can help us get to them, but all of these other things needs to be fixed for us to drive access.
Oh, interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So I think that's something that needs to be updated in my own notes. When we look at the different value chains, we're talking about health insurance, similarities between the urban and the rural areas. Okay, I'm sure we're learning from that as well. Michael, so you representing HERS, you're wearing two hats, right? As the incumbent and as the divergent, if I could use that term. What are your thoughts?
I'd ride on the previous speaker's submission around awareness. I was surprised during the NSAS saga when I was engaging a couple of people and I got to know that they are not aware of the value proposition of insurance. It was quite shocking that in this time and age that we have people there. And then it dawned on me that in terms of awareness, those of us who are in this room were just a small percentage of the Nigerian population. And most times we think that we are large, right? So we could just be like 5% of the over 219 million Nigerian population, right? So that means we have a whopping 180 million people who don't know what we know. But unfortunately, whenever we sit in our glass houses, we make models based on who we are, right? Without taking into cognizance the larger population. One of the things that I've seen in our space is a struggle to let those in the glass house know that the people we're addressing are not like us, right? They don't wear our suits, they don't wear our hats, they don't think like us, they don't speak like us. So in terms of messaging, right, taking these facts into cognizance, right, and crafting a message that speaks to them, not us, right, to help us drive the awareness that we've been trying to achieve. Thanks.
Thanks for sharing that, Mike. Very interesting. Yeah, over to you.
Okay, so I think in terms of trust, that's where we come in as a KYC provider. Our position really is to enable financial inclusion and trust by powering the insurtechs to provide the services that they do, both to the urban and rural spaces. Is with regards to the adoption rate and the awareness, I think there is also a level of cultural, traditional, and religious belief that comes into play, and that affects the adoption of insurance. With a company like ours who provide KYC for your services, on the one hand, we are enabling you to have visibility on who your customers are by leveraging, government databases to provide you with identity information. We allow you know where your customers are, confirming, addressing, and locationing information. And then, of course, what your customers are by providing you with data on, their risk assessment and the likes. So that, on the one hand, provides trust within the insurance ecosystem, allowing, those who engage it to feel more comfortable in engaging the ecosystem. But on the other hand, what we do is we have learned to merge our technology with the traditional ways in which those in the rural or more underserved areas do things. And I'll give an example. With one of our solutions, which is how we vet physical locations. What we have been able to do is work with insurance companies to vet both traditional and non-traditional medical service providers and get them to be a part of the HMO process. So this has made it easier for the underserved to engage in the HMO process, because now they have service providers who are in their local communities and who are affordable and accessible to them. So really that helps them trust the process, because they're engaging something that they're already familiar with. And I think that's kind of where the KYC process comes into play with regards to insurtech and, adoption rates.
Thanks for sharing that, Ngoya. I'm going to hold on. I want to ask you to hold on to that thought, because the next thing I was going to throw out there is, from your own lenses, right? And this goes to all the panelists as well. What is that main problem? What is that obstacle that you're seeing very clearly, evidence-based, that traditional insurers have when it comes to penetrating, including people within in the rural areas, in the suburbs, and everything? Now, you've mentioned your KYC technology, but from what you've seen in your interfaces with the traditional insurers, what exactly is that number one problem from your own perspective?
I would say ideally it is really their reach. With traditional insurance, their method is typically agent driven, and that restricts them to their area of operation. So in so saying, bringing in, this KYC engine that we have a logistics engine that is spread across the nation. We have over 40,000 agents in every local government in the country. So in using that kind of service, we have the ability to market and create awareness in different regions and enable those in the traditional insurance sector to reach a wider range of customers that ideally they would miss out on using their traditional method of engagement. I also think going into the accessibility in terms of affordability and customization, that's another issue that a lot of the traditional insurance providers face. Access to microinsurance is limited, again, just based on their region. So, that's those are the key issues and critical areas that I see when we engage traditional insurance.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Ngoya. Michael, what are you saying? I mean, like, you are wearing two hats. So you could tell us from this side, this is what is happening. And from the other side, this is exactly what you're seeing.
Okay, thanks again. So I'll say legacy systems is one. All right. So the bulk of us traditional insurance, some of us have been using some core applications for like 20 years. All right. And 20 years ago, we didn't have so much of things like APIs. So right now, we're speaking to ecosystem emergence, we're speaking to interconnectivity, IoTs. So if we have to make that move, there has to be the demise of the old and the emergence of the new, right? And the fact that people are used to a certain thing and that they've been doing this thing for a number of years, just waking up to change these things are not very easy conversations. You have to convince stakeholders because this change will have economic implications. Somebody has to put money down, all right, to drive the creation of this technology. And you know that the return on this investment most times is not even 2 years. Right? So whoever is going to put this money down has to wait for a couple of years. And you know the way insurance is. Nobody wants to wait for that number of years. Folks want, I put my money down, convince me that in 18 months, this is what is going to happen. That's not true. So these are the conversations that we need to have, right? Investment in systems that enable us meet the demands of innovation. Good eating, that's one of the places where I've seen hair strive, right, in investment in these systems, knowing fully well that, look, the future is here and you have to build for it. So that is something that we know that by the time we start committing to, we'll see the transitions that enable us have handshakes with even new players. Let's say new players like Curacao. Fortunately, they are our partners, right? So new players like Curacao, having those handshakes that, because there are some capabilities that we don't have, that they have. So if I can handshake Curacao properly, right? Curacao and myself in partnership, we can invade spaces that I can invade alone and he can invade alone. So legacy systems is a major challenge in achieving this mandate.
All right. Thanks, Michael. Tommy, so from your research, I mean, there's a lot of data that Athena has put out there, you know, when it comes to the number one, the top three things that top the chart, what would you say for traditional insurers?
So just to piggyback on what he said earlier on, because we're talking about traditional insurance and your question is, what has been the challenge for why they've not been able to serve the underserved? And back to the point that the underserved are not people in rural communities, the poor. We are the underserved because we are really, I mean, if I ask people in the room, I maybe the highest we have is health insurance and maybe car insurance, but there's more, right? So that's the underserved is literally like 97% of Nigerians. And when you look at the data and you ask, Nigerians, do you think, financial information is provided to you in a way that you understand? Majority of Nigerians say no. So, banking is quite easy because I put my money in there. I can see it every day. I can go take it out when I need it. But insurance, when you are asking them to take a bet, then there is more, that needs to be understood. And to your question, I would say, the simplicity of information. So beyond just awareness, it's the messaging, right? The fact that to reach those people, your message has to be simple. It has to be understood, right? I think one of our partners would typically say, all of your messaging should fit into a business card. It should be that simple. It should be that straightforward. So it should be simple. It should be understood. Then I think another area where I think that traditional players have kind of faltered or they have challenged, is around the value proposition, but also beyond the value proposition, also the value that it brings to Nigerians. I think in our ecosystem, we are we will rely really on the fact that we think our value is just in meeting claims. But I think insurance has gone beyond that. And also particularly for the underserved. I mean, that point where you're coming to meet a claim might already be too late, because what it costs them as a poor person, to cope with that, or a disadvantaged person. So preventive, is and I think a step higher that I think we need to get to, where you can actually help them to foresee, because a lot of times they don't have the foresight to understand the dynamics of what they are working with, whether it's in their business or their health, So, looking back and hand-holding them through that process, because again, insurance is about helping them to be resilient, and that should be our role in supporting them in this ecosystem. And last thing I think is efficiency. Traditional players are really not efficient. They don't have time, the days it will take for you to get a claim. And obviously, insurtechs have stepped in, and there's technology that has stepped in, but traditional players who have refused to adapt to that. And that's something, time to a disadvantaged person, time to a low income person. You cannot value that, because like we typically say, 5,000 naira could be what would save a life. Just an insurance policy, right? Could be what could save a life. And so when you tell them to wait for days, that could be the end of their world. So I think those few things would be, yeah.
Thank you, Toby. Flush, you've done a lot of partnerships with banks, insurers, in Nigeria, outside Nigeria, you're everywhere. So what is that number one challenge?
It's a very interesting question to answer, coming from what we've seen and the trends that happen. But if I just try to summarize everything, I'll take bits and pieces of what all my other panelists have said. I would say, because yes, I'm so focused on technology, right? I'll say everything from a technology standpoint, a process standpoint, an efficiency standpoint, the moving needle standpoint. So traditional insurance companies tend to be fixated on doing what they know how to do, what they are comfortable doing, even if it costs them lots of bodies. So for instance, they have a new problem. How do we solve this problem? Employ more people. Throw more bodies at the problem. Our claims volumes are growing. What do we do? Let's hire more people to vet these claims, right? So hire more people, throw more bodies at the problem. We want to sell more policies, get more marketers, right? Everything they think about has a pattern. So they have a pattern of behavior that they are stuck in. And even if they have legacy systems, you upgrade their systems, they still have this pattern of behavior. There's going to be a mismatch, right? Because you're trying to use a modern system to execute your legacy behavior, your old school behavior. It's not really going to be efficient. So there is this unwillingness to change. There is this pattern of behavior. There is this lack of agility that is present in many of these organizations. And part of what we try to do when we deal with them is do some level of reorientation to allow them realize that for you to actually move in these present times, you need to think like a startup. You need to be agile in your thinking, and just let us take care of that for you. You don't need to bother yourself about it. We'll take care of that for you. Just tell us what you want and we'll help you achieve that. But let go of, they need to let go of their old way of thinking around things, around solving problems, around technology. Because for instance, an insurance company wants to migrate from what they think is legacy tech to what they think is modern tech. And when we see their RFPs, we are like, bruh, nah, this is not it, right? So we have to take them through a process where we make them realize what is actually going on right now, what tech looks like, what tech can do for them. And they realize that the RFP was like just, a child's play kind of thing. So there is that mental shift that needs to happen. And yeah, that is one of the things I'll say is a major problem aside the tech and every other thing. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for sharing that, Flash. So all the insurers out there, please, if you're going to come after anyone, I just ask the questions. It should be him, right? So I'll just hold the next question to start from you. Now moving on to the technology stacks, right? When we talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, I mean, there's a lot of buzzwords, right, being bandied out there. And, everyone is saying, oh, tech, we're using tech. From your experience, right, embedded insurance, you're making the products disappear, right? in the whole into the behavioral economics of how the consumer is purchasing his daily. So he wants to buy a car. He's not thinking, oh, I need to go and get insurance separately, because you're embedding your service into the product. And in terms of what you guys are doing, fraud, waste, abuse, curbing that, artificial intelligence, machine learning, this technology stacks, how are they really going to assist to aid and abet deepening penetration from your own perspective?
Thank you so much. So for penetration, using tech, I wouldn't need to repeat all of them. Think about it this way. We have this thing where we say the chicken and egg problem, right? And I like to think about some things in cycles. So if you have a cycle where point A or fact variable A actually affects what happens when you get to step B, right? So in the entire insurance process, everything actually affects penetration. Why do I say that? For instance, if the insurance company is inefficient at processing claims, they're going to spend lots of money processing claims because they're inefficient at doing that. It's going to take them longer times to process claims, and chances that their renewals are going to increase are low because they've not paid out previous claims. Their costs are rising. They're losing money. Inevitably, they are likely want to increase the prices, increase their premiums, and they will not even be focused on trying to reach more people because they are just trying to play catch up. So that single inefficiency of claims processing alone is actually going to affect every single thing that happens in the business. And it goes the same way. They're trying to underwrite new policies, highly inefficient. It's a mess. Paperwork, all this trying to gather data about your customers, which is where our KYC players come in, by the way. And it's slow, takes time. They don't have accurate data or they get wrong data. And it costs them at the same time. Right? It's like it just keeps going on and on and on. So what we've seen is you solve one problem. For instance, we use AI and machine learning to detect fraudulent claims for health insurers and car insurers, etc. The efficiency gain from that step actually drives down because now they have more resources they can dedicate to put people or put into spreading out the reach, right? So it's like our goal is now let's find out all these bottlenecks that exist in the ecosystem and start fixing them using tech. So eliminating fraudulent claims using AI, and now we're trying to make sure that distribution is possible using APIs and SDKs. For instance, the likes of Alerts, the likes of Piggyverse, they're embedded insurance products using cross-sales APIs, right? And an insurance company doesn't need to do the stress of trying to access the 500,000 users or 1 million users that are present on these platforms, simply because we've provided that embedded facility to them and to the technology company that has done that embedding. So I feel like I've said so many things. So to summarize my answer, right? Taking bits and pieces of technology to attack specific problems in the chain of the entire insurance value proposition is how we are actually driving towards the accessibility, because every single step contributes towards accessibility at the end of the day. Thank you so much.
Nice. Thank you, Flash. Tommy, to layer on that question, when you look at your own research, your data, there's sometimes you, from the end user's perspective, you hear, well, they said there's an app, right? But we find out that in Nigeria, if it's not a loan-based app, or if it's not something that has to do with something that can better my life, I'm not going to download it, right? And to your point on clearly defining who the underserved market is, even for those of us in this room, when you talk about web applications, mobile applications, some insurance companies or even insurtech companies will say, oh, you need to download this so that you can do this, do that. But what we've seen in reality is you find out that the end users are saying, I'm not going to download it because, you see, I just need a simple way, that is going to make me connect to this. Your downloading is going to it's going to destroy my data. And people are very, very, data is, So from your own, what are you seeing, particularly when it comes to mobile apps, web apps, the adoption, right? Before we even get into all the fancy things that Flash has explained on AI, machine learning, on those simple, low-hanging, tech-driven things that can aid and abet penetration? What are you seeing in terms of the data?
So I think what we saw is that post-COVID, we saw an acceleration of digitization, right, across the continent, not just in Africa. And so we did see that adoption of digital financial services increased from about 16% in 2018, and in 2020 we had 28% of adult Nigerians that had, used digital financial services. Majority of that payments, right? So again, back to my point earlier, the reason why payment has scaled significantly in Nigeria is because they, like he said, a lot of the integration with banks, right? So and we sometimes, we spank them for that to say, you're 70 banked. We want you to go further. But in insurance, where we're not even there yet, we can't be spanking you because we really want you to deepen inclusion, right? So my point is, banked individuals already have apps. They don't have problem with downloading an app, right? So they are not the ones that will be complaining. I will come to the underserved. And I think because I said, digitization has increased, use of DFS has increased. We need to think about how do we partner, collaborate, ensure that there is, that linkage, and we can ride on people who are already banked. I looked at the data, and just 4% of banked individuals have insurance. So you need to ask yourself, like, these people are financially included. They have a financial transaction account. Why is it then difficult to sell insurance even to a banked person? And back to some of the challenges I mentioned earlier. But again, we know that technology kind of helps us address almost all of those challenges we have all talked about in one way or the other. So on one hand, when we're looking at the banked Nigerians, I do think that the apps and those things can still be, it's the way to go for the underserved and the people that we actually call underserved. I would say what we've seen work is texts. You can't run from that because a lot of them don't even have smartphones. We say mobile phone penetration in Nigeria is at about 80%. Well, probably less than 20% of that is smartphone ownership. So if you want to serve people who are in rural communities who are quite disadvantaged and don't even have the money to buy data for all of this, and this has worked very well in agriculture. So where you see farmers having insurance, it's not because they're using apps, it's because there's a text message and there is, there is USSD, or like, it's also intentional about how, you walk them through the process, right? You give them what text message helps you to this day, helps you to simplify your information. You have to send few, letters. And so you have to be very, very intentional and targeted. So for that community and segment, I think text message will be the way to go. But again, there is still a market that we need to serve within the banked and the financially included population that are equally as important as the underserved that we're talking about.
Thank you, Toby. Michael, what are your thoughts?
One of the questions I usually ask whenever I engage around technology adoption is to ask people, have you ever seen a WhatsApp advert before? And I don't know, but I don't know if you've seen any WhatsApp adverts anywhere in Nigeria. I have not seen. Well, guess what? If I do a survey, almost 90% of everyone here has a WhatsApp. In fact, once I lose my phone and I want to reset, one of the first apps I reinstall is WhatsApp. So, and yet these guys don't have any advert anywhere in this country. So that means value sells itself, right? So, and then I'm asking, why would I want to download an app, right, just to pay for insurance? It leads me to, what are the other ways that we could use to move this agenda? WhatsApp is there. Everyone has it. Why not sell it on WhatsApp? Right? USSD is there. Why not sell it? Because we have more people with these kind of phones than the smartphones. So, but one of the challenges which I'm also throwing into this forum is that we've been on the lookout for a credible partner for helping us collect on USSD and WhatsApp. We've had solutions that came and promised plenty things, but delivered just a handful. So if there is anyone here who you have that solution, please let's talk once we're done, right? There is business for you right after this engagement. That is where we have the bulk of our markets. I don't need to take you through the stress of downloading anything. You already have the WhatsApp that you've downloaded, not because of me. So I will invade that space and deliver my service to you. So that, for me, I think is one of the ways that we could drive this adoption message and this penetration message. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll start rounding up. Just a quick response from everyone. I'd like to start with you, Ngonya. How do you envision the future of insurance in Nigeria, in Africa at large, right? With the advent of technology stacks, right? Now that we have, InsurTech, we have, Fintech, there's a lot of stuff going. The question to round up this panel is, what do you see? What's the future looking like from your own lenses?
Okay, that's a very good question. And I think I've touched on this a little already. As much as we are seeing adoption with technology, just because of the market that we play in, I still do very much believe that there will always be a need to merge the traditional with the technological aspect. The accessibility and just availability, you're talking about data and things of that nature for the underserved. And even, those among us, we still have those issues of connectivity. There will always be the need for the human touch in a market like ours. As adoption grows, quite all right, it may reduce, but just with the widespread of the nation and how rural some places are for reach and adoption, as much as we take on technology, the peculiarities of our market will always require a physical and human interaction. So I still see the need for embracing technology, but without eliminating that human touch.
Thank you, Ngoya. Michael, Tommy, Flash, just quick comments. What do you see?
Okay, so technology is there. Of course, omni-channel is another thing. So why not have humans that are empowered by technology? Someone has mentioned trust. Trust is because people don't trust technology alone. But if there's a human to back the technology, the adoption will be better. And then lastly, legacy insurance is sitting on a huge amount of data. Huge. If you enter some insurance company and see their warehouse of files, right, it's enough, some of them, to cover this room. There's a lot that we could do with that, right? So around getting those things and getting those facts embedded in our product creation and in our delivery to help us drive our penetrations.
So in terms of future of insurance and InsurTech, I think that insurance would help, technology would help us to have build more resilience for Nigerians. So rather than the traditional way where we are just trying to accelerate change, which the traditional providers are trying to do. So I'm trying to just enhance my claim mechanism, for technology, it will reinvent that process so that beyond just helping you to cope with a shock, it helps people to actually prevent and be more resilient, because that's the end of what we want to see. At the end of the day, in Nigeria, across Africa, the poverty rate, the frequency of economic challenges, the frequency of conflicts, we need to see that happen. And I think that's where I see insurance going. Technology that enables and reinvents resilience, not just helps you to cope, but helps you to prevent going forward.
Amazing. the way I see the future, my vision of what I see in the next few years is similar to what has happened over the last decade. I mean, I remember back in the early 2000s, for you to access the internet, you needed to have like a landline in your house and you had like a 56K connection. God, those days are frustrating because I'm trying to download Java and C++ and I have to wait forever. But now the mobile phones, the telecom industry has actually revolutionized that. It has changed the way internet is accessed today. That is the way I see in technology changing the landscape of insurance in the next few years. It's going to get to a point where every single person here has insurance without even thinking about it as a big deal. And they're actually enjoying it the same way they're enjoying internet data today because of the mobile phones. And by the way, Chief Michael, we've actually launched a WhatsApp bot so we can show you. All right, thank you so much.
All right. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Round of applause for our esteemed panelists. This is a conversation that can go on and on. So I'd implore us to please, there's the hashtag NFW23, so you can ask your questions. We can continue the conversations online. I'll pause there and hand over to the MC. Thank you.
Technological issues. We need to make sure the microphones are insured. But the thing is this, Dr. Tunde has done a wonderful job. Please, can you put your hands together for him? However, I'm going to take one or two questions or comments. Please let me have Madam Horizon Pay, the CEO herself, is going to make a comment or question. Over to you, ma. And then second one.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the session. I just want...
All right.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to, I don't know whether, I think comments and probably questions, Efina and to the players. You know, yesterday we talked about financial inclusion. We spent quite a lot of time. It was a very good session involving people. And one of the things that we were able to establish is the fact that payments, fintechs in payments have done quite a lot of work. Today, working with the banks, working with SANEF, we have data telling us that we have 1.6 million agent network spread across 774 local governments in Nigeria. And we are here talking insurance today. We are talking about insurance penetration at 1%, 3%, bulk of which are health insurance. We are talking about the lack of awareness. Where is the collaboration between the structure that has been laid all over Nigeria? The objective and the plan of financial inclusion then was for us to have a structure that we could layer different financial services, you know, to penetrate the hinterland. But we have done that successfully with payments. Everybody can pay. You can use your app. You can use USSD. You can go to the agents who can do the selling. Who can do the selling? But we are not seeing that collaboration. There are 8 micro insurance companies in Nigeria. Let's forget about the big boys who are probably not ready to come down. They are there. What have they done? So I hear APIs, I hear technology, but the guys out there, I'm not sure we are speaking their language. So we probably need to look at the target market versus the value propositions. What kind of insurance is the market woman going to buy aside from health insurance? We have a lot of people dying on the roads. How come we are not talking to the bus companies? You know, for us to embed insurance into transportation. We need to go deeper. We need to do more work. But that is not happening with insurance. I think we need to declare a state of emergency on insurance. That's then on awareness. I've never seen, except on social media where people are talking about embedded insurance these days. I've never seen an insurance ad. Maybe old one of ICO with the umbrella. You know, that one resonates. But now I have never seen. But we have Nollywood, popular theater, that we can layer, you know, information. They do, you will see them, they carry POS terminals on. So what is being done by the players, you know, today for us to be able to achieve the purpose of financial inclusion as far as insurance is concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mrs. Funshot. She's the CEO of Horizon Pay. And then we have the other guy there. Please quickly, Patrick. And it's interesting because a lot of what we talk about, I think it was yourself, Mawu, mentioned that there are just about 30 million Nigerians that have access to smartphones. Am I correct? In 200 and something million population, just 30 million. And all of these 30 million are within the urban setting. So I agree with what she's saying. A lot of times, insurance companies don't like to sponsor events or programs. She's talking about Nollywood. If Nollywood comes to you guys with proposals for awareness and creation, you will say you don't have the budget. So please let us have some of those issues addressed, because these are part of the things in marketing communications that can help to drive this campaign. All right.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Arinze. I'm responsible for brand marketing and customer experience at Veritas Capital. I'd like to first of all say a big thank you to the panelists. There's no gainsaying insurance penetration is low. It's less than 10%, less than 1% penetration. However, if we collaborate sincerely and genuinely, we can take it further. Recently, there's a WhatsApp platform from Veritas where you can start, finish insurance, buy and sell and get your certificate. Where is popularity? Nobody knows about it. We must learn and collectively agree that we need to drive insurance penetration by creating meaningful awareness. I won't go on the radio and be telling an insurance person who wants to buy insurance and be telling them about single article limits. Speak the language of your targeted audience so that they can understand what you're saying and be able to see value in what you're giving. What we do, like she said, ICO carrying umbrella or Veritas doing something, we must speak the language of the market we are looking for. Otherwise, we won't go anywhere. There's a huge market, like you said, Carlo. The data for insurance is huge. We can sell, we can drive that penetration, but we must collaborate as providers. Thank you.
Thank you. As a matter of fact, that umbrella advert was in the 70s or 80s. You can imagine. Some people were not born in this hall here. All right. So over to you, panelists. We can only take 2 questions or comments.
So, you know, the SANEF use case that you gave, you know how SANEF was funded. It was well funded. Fortunately, I used to work in an organization that was a beneficiary of that fund. It was good money, right? You know how much, I wouldn't say. That money is not available in insurance. So I knew how we went to almost the nooks and crannies of Nigeria on the strength of that money to talk to people about banking service. The organization that I worked for then, that money was a very big push and motivation for us because it was almost 4 times our annual budgets. So imagine that. So it was enough for us to, in fact, that money made me, I toured all the 17 states in southern Nigeria, that money. So imagine the push that that gave to us. Just like the second speaker said, it will take the collaboration of the players, maybe NIA putting funds together. That money came from CBN, right? And you know that the money also came from the banks because that's how CBN gets their money. So maybe the NIA will find a way to have the insurance companies contribute something small, right? So that we can put together a pool of funds to drive insurance education. So once we have more awareness, we have more markets because someone that knows about you that is part of your markets. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please, if I may ask, who has more money, insurance companies or banks? Banks or insurance companies? So, no, insurance companies do have more money. They don't. No. Yes, I'm trying to put them on the spot because they're looking for money from NIA. This is something that needs to be done. I know there was an advert rule campaign in the papers. Buy insurance, buy insurance. That was in the papers. And like you rightly said, in terms of WhatsApp platform, somebody also mentioned that in awareness. And I think the lady from Awa from NCC yesterday also hammered on awareness. It looks as if the past have anchored events even within the insurance space, which the awareness matter came up. And I think the insurance industry should take up what Mrs. Funsho actually mentioned with regards to using the entertainment platforms. In America, oftentimes when you watch movies, you will see either Pepsi or Coca-Cola fridge or whatever it is. Those are some of those insights that can actually create mind share. So it's important because the insurance penetration in the country is very, very poor. Even auto insurance, some people don't want to even take that up. Third party with regards to whatever it is, all right? So we need to be able to do this because we need our systems, our services to be insured, all right? I don't want to get too passionate because this is not my panel. Dr. Salako is always looking at me because he's saying to himself, Stephen, you are MC, not moderator. So at this point in time, over to you, Dr. Salako, to wrap up this panel so that we can have a picture and then invite our next speaker.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, esteemed guests. Wonderful contribution and comments. Thank you, esteemed panelists. I think the homework, the takeaways, the assignments is very clear cut, right? There's the low-hanging fruits, right? I think that's what we need to look at. How do we move into the next frontier? How do we create these mind shifts? Awareness is a big thing. Education is a big thing. And when we look at the end user, who is at the center of it all, right? Trust, relevance, time to value, something very critical that Tommy brought up, right? Those are things that are pertinent to everyone. Before you start talking about, okay, can I even afford it? Do I have access to it? Is it available, right? And then does it fit my need? Is it relevant to me as an individual? I think those are the clear-cut steps that we need to look into. We need to start deep diving into this. And obviously, have these conversations continuously, offline and online, in all matters. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Tunde Salako. Please, can you come up for us to have an insurance snapshot? Even if we might not insure the picture, but let's just... COO, please, can we come up to have okay, and of course, our keynote speaker to come up as well to have this moment that we want to capture. Please, you want to move forward to the middle? So please make sure you have your insurance smile put on, because this is one of the ways we can penetrate the market with your smile. Are they smiling insuranely? No, they say you're not smiling with insurance. So. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so very much. Please, can you put your hands together for Dr. Salako and his team that has done a wonderful job in helping us explore this subject matter of insurance. There is a need for us to make sure that we are able to address the marketing communication angle of all of this conversation. Awareness, education, it demands also budget. And that is part of the reason why we say a big thank you to all of the sponsors that have made this particular event possible. If the sponsors didn't identify with this program, I'm very sure most of us might not be here. And I can imagine the kind of awareness that has created for everybody. So sponsorship is one of the major channel, strategic channel, by the way, that can help us not just put up your brand, but also engender the conversation within any industry that we might be exploring. So thank you very much, Dr. Tunde Salako. Thank you, Mr. Bode Pedro. Thank you, Mr. John Dada. Thank you, Michael Kalu. Thank you, Dr. Oluwatomi. And of course, thank you, Kalango, for this particular session. Quickly, we are going to move in to have our keynote address. And our speaker is the founder and general partner of Future Africa, Ian Aboyeji. Please, can you put your hands together for him as he speaks on scaling digital talent for global competition. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Fantastic. Thank you very much for having me here. All protocol duly observed, but in particular, I would like to recognize our Dr. Obrima, who has been holding up this organization, as well as our presidents, who Mr. Bajomo, and all the other members of the governing council and members of Fintech Nigeria. This morning, I just want to speak very briefly about the need for us to raise our sights as an industry when it comes to the investments in talent. And the reason why I thought it was an important topic for us to take today is my general mindset has always been that as a country, Nigeria's greatest challenges often turn out to also be its biggest opportunities. And I believe that if you sit down with any fintech company and ask them, what are your biggest problems? You will probably hear two things come up repeatedly, right? One would be dollar. Is somebody, I mean, it's not a problem for you people. It's 1-3 today now, so, yeah. And the second will be talent, Japa, right? And for me, I think that those are incredible opportunities for our country. Incredible opportunities for our country. And so in the next 5 to 10 minutes, a very short speech, I don't have much to say because I have to leave here a little shortly. I have another commitment. I just want to share a few thoughts about investing in talent so that we can build a truly global fintech hub here in Nigeria. Now, for you to fully understand where we are coming from, and I think for me, I always look at our industry with a lot of gratitude because of where we are coming from and because of all the sacrifices that many people have made to get our industry to this point. Now, where are we really? When you look at our country, right? You know, over the last 3 to 5 years, the fintech sector has attracted close to $3 billion in investments. And that's, I'm not talking about fintech across Africa. I'm talking about fintech in Nigeria. And it's been able to attract that investment, not because we have juju in our mouths, or because the fintech people are selling a dream, but because a market was intentionally created by the regulator. Now, I know we like to rag on our regulator, the CBN, a lot, but any observant individual with a sense of history will recognize that Payments Vision 2010 was implemented to the fullest and actually delivered on the results that were projected. In fact, over-delivered, if you can ask me, in every respect. Whether you're talking about financial inclusion targets, we're not where we want to be, but we are far ahead of where we were, right? Whether you're talking about the businesses that have been built on the payment system, whether we're talking about the level of talent, you can tell that the foresight of a lot of the originators of Payments Vision 2010, they got the industry far. And that's why today we are celebrating a $3 billion fintech industry in this our country. However, there was only one item on Payments Vision 2010 that was not achieved. And that was the establishment of an international financial center. And many attempts have been made, but for many policy and other political reasons, that has not been achieved. And when I talk to my friends and say, what would it take to truly make Nigeria an international finance center? You know, a lot of my finance friends will say, oh, you have to remove the taxes, you have to remove this, you have to remove that. And it's true, you need all of that. But when I talk to my friends globally, they say, well, what would make me move any part of my operations as a financial institution to Nigeria. And I've talked to all the CIOs in all the top financial institutions in the world, JP Morgan, BAML, all of them. And you know what they tell me? There's only one reason they would move operations to Nigeria, and that is talent. If you walk in the halls of global financial institutions and you see the amount of our talent that is in those halls, you self go shock. The amount of Nigerians that are working in cyber fraud, in just MasterCard, in international operations, you will shock. And this has happened organically, just by virtue of the banks meeting their own needs. We have managed to inorganically build this crop of talent. So I often imagine what will happen if we actually intentionally double down on creating a crop of fintech talent that could serve the world. Now, we are in the middle of an incredible shift. I just got on a plane this morning from San Francisco. I went there to meet with a few of our partner funds and our businesses. And obviously, I'm sure as many of you know, the only thing that is on everybody's mind is AI, artificial intelligence. Now, the story they tell you in the press is artificial intelligence is coming to take all your jobs. But what they don't tell you about is that there's this small thing about artificial intelligence called the human in the loop or the human on the loop, which means that every time you see any artifact of intelligence, right? There is usually a human being that has trained the model to deliver. And this is a concept that goes as far back as 1973 with a very interesting book written by a guy called Lick Leader called Man-Machine Symbiosis, where he said, what's going to happen with artificial intelligence at the end of the day is that it becomes a superpower for human beings, where essentially you don't repeat yourself. Those of us that are programmers, I'm not one, but those of us that understand programming know that this is one of the fundamental principles of programming, right? This idea that you can build loops and you don't have to repeat yourself consistently. And that is what these artificial intelligence AI models are leading us to. So there would be a need for human beings. And we have an opportunity, particularly given the very strategic focus that the Honorable Minister of Communications is placing on artificial intelligence, to be the country that delivers those humans in the loop. Those human beings that can combine with artificial intelligence and machines to make sure that we can catch fraud, right? To make sure that we can enhance the relationship management, to make sure that we can design new products based on data, to make sure that we can engage new audiences and adapt products to fit their needs. But it will all start with this sort of intention that our originators of Payments Vision 2010 had all those many years. That if we start that work today and say, look, in another 10 years or 20 years from now, we want Nigeria to be a leading international finance center predicated on the availability of human in the loop, AI friendly talents. And we start to work towards that. I think it would be incredible to imagine what we could deliver on. Because the world is moving. While we are worried about dollar and all this stuff, Fintech is moving to delivery. People are asking themselves, banks are saying, you know what? Do I need more than my treasury department to run a global bank? Can I outsource all the other functions and pay on the basis of outcomes? And there's an opportunity for us to do that. And in doing that, we can solve our own problem of JACPA. Because like I say, JACPA is not a problem if you have 100 million young people. You can always make more. You have the raw material to make more. So I said I was only going to speak for a few minutes and I'm over my time, but I just wanted to share a bit to spark our imagination about where next we can go as an industry. So that, you know, we don't allow the current challenges to go, to waste. The current challenges are incredible opportunities. And if we allow them to go to waste, I don't think the future will forgive us. Thank you.
Please, I'd like to invite the COO to please come up to have a snapshot with keynote speaker. Interestingly enough, for some of you who may not know, Aboyeji is the founder of Andala and the Flutterwave. So when you hear about those brands, this is a great mind behind it, along with his team. The way they're hugging themselves, you know that they want to start up another company. That's to tell you the fact that we're not wasting any challenge that we are facing today in this country. And so that itself is a major, major focus. I want to say a big thank you, please. Okay, Oreme Yakam, please, can you come in? Committee chair, NFW 23, is he here or she here? Okay. Oreme, please come up. Okay, you heard your name twice. Be careful, careful, careful. Is this a Nigerian material, man? Now, the good thing is this: if we don't buy Nigeria, we don't make Nigeria, okay, we will not improve on our currency. All right. Sorry about that. Cyprian, you come up. Sorry about that. If we don't do Nigeria or buy Nigeria, we are not obviously doing what we have to do. As you can see, even the COO has a made in Nigeria Akara. As a matter of fact, please put your hands together for him. Oh, Emma Binusa, Asho okay. Is Asho okay? Asho okay. Asho okay. And the madam has a madam. I don't know what material that is before I get into trouble. Adire anyone pay here? Okay. And then just pretend we didn't see that. As a matter of fact, it's in case my be. Let's let them put your hands together for there before I run faster than my mouth. Are we done? Photographers, are we done? All right. Thank you very much. This is great to see. Just like and yes, actually said, it's important for us to do buy in Nigeria. The more we do buy in Nigeria, the more our currency actually improves. As a matter of fact, the jacket that I'm wearing is actually made in Nigeria. That, as a matter of fact, so that we need to understand how that goes. At this point in time, I would like to quickly introduce and call to the podium Mr. Olufemi Davis, who is going to be making a pitch, and is from InterSwitch, is the divisional head, product and innovation. Please, can you put your hands together for Olufemi Davis? You're welcome, sir. He's speaking for just 10 minutes, and we are looking at InterSwitch, what exactly InterSwitch has for us.
Good morning, everyone. All protocols duly observed. And maybe I should also say that I'm also wearing a made in Nigeria jacket. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I have just 10 minutes. And what I'll be speaking about is one of our products that we call Card Fusion, which enables institutions to issue cards instantly. So for banks and players in the payment ecosystem, one of the major key tokens that we have is cards. This creates a differentiator for them and also increases revenue. However, the process of getting these cards in the hands of customers can be quite cumbersome, with a high degree of manual intervention and a lot of players in between, thereby making it look like rocket science to fintechs and other players that want to innovate in this space. Our focus at InterSwitch is to demystify this the way we demystified payments and make it look like pure water for everybody to issue cards in their location. In 1950, the first card was issued in the world. It was a Diners Club card. And in the 80s, Nigeria issued its first card. Today, when you walk into your bank or you want to get a card from a fintech, what you see on the screen is the process that it takes and the many hops involved. You walk into a branch and then you request for the card, and the card request goes through a card request server that goes to a production server. And then another process happens where it is sent for what we call data prep. Data prep is the instance where your card data is written on the chip of your card and the mark stripe behind the card. It flows to a personalization company that now embeds this data on the card and then send it to the head office, who now send it to the branch you made the request for distribution to you. This process will take a minimum of about 3 days. In some cases, where your request is made very far, maybe far in the far north, it could take as much as a week. So here we have just listed some of the challenges of the current way of doing things, which also includes waste. Some of the institutions have tried to break these jinx by doing what we call pre-personalization, where you have cards that this data have been written on the chip and on the mark stripe. You walk in and then they simply print your name on it, link it to your account and issue it to you. The challenge with this is that it can also cause waste to the bank, because you might have instances where a branch might not exhaust the cards that have been pre-personalized until they expire. One of the other issues is that a customer might be given a card that would expire be in 2 years or a year, rather than the specified 3 years by the central bank. So what have we done to solve this? That is what we want to talk about today. We have come up with what we call the card fusion, which is the instant card issuance system. What this will do is that it will embed the process of the request, the linking of the accounts, and the generation of the required data that is embedded on the chip up to the collection in one click. So it means you can walk into a location and get your card fully personalized, not pre-personalized, in few minutes. Oops. Sorry. Apologies for that. Okay, so skipping the slide. The slide that is missing is to show us the architecture of what we are doing now. It's very simple. from where you walk into the location, you can see I'm using the word location because it doesn't necessarily need to be a bank branch. Here you just have your system, which could be a laptop, and then you have the printer, just like you have in the business centers, where you can walk into the location, you request for your card, your identity is verified, and then the card is printed, and you can walk away with your card fully personalized, expiring in the defined duration by the central bank, which is 3 years as at now. And then you can start enjoying your card. These are the features of what we've done. User management that enables the institution that owns it to define what every individual, what every operator can do. For instance, this can be deployed to agents, and agents can issue your brand card on your behalf. It supports the 2 types of branding that we have for cards today. We are all used to the horizontal branding, but now we have cards that are issued with the vertical branding. This solution supports it. And of course, it also supports the issuance of EMV compliant card, which is the highest security of cards worldwide today. Okay, sorry. Okay, I guess I'll just speak. I was trying to go to the next slide that tells us the benefits, which is to improve your customer experience. The customer will be delighted because they can open your account or wallet and be issued a card instantly. Of course, it also increases revenue for the organization that will be using this. Today, many fintechs have come up with wallets that are closed loop. Closed loop is probably not the way to go. That's why you see even the Oyster cards, are no longer the in thing out there. People are now opening up to allow other card brands for transportation, even outside Nigeria. In Nigeria today, we have a lot of wallets that today might be closed loop. By you embedding cards on it, it makes it interoperable, and it means your customers can do more and they will be happier. Of course, it reduces the error rate of card production because it removes all the manual processes. And it also takes out the hard work of keeping up with mandates and other regulatory requirements. We are in a now world. The Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas coming are not the generation. We've moved from the baby boomers from tally number to the millennials, that do instant transfer, and Gen Zs that also do instant transfer. Now we are moving to instant everything. Card issuance should not be out of it. With this solution, we are creating a platform that fintechs can build on. You can build your own innovation on it to ensure that cards can be issued instantly in any location and to your customers to make them happy, to make you today ready for the Gen Zs and future ready for the Gen Alphas. Thank you. Questions?
Hello. Okay, thank you very much. That's great to know. InterSwitch. That'll be all yes for now. Thank you, Femi. Femi wanted extra minutes, but we know that InterSwitch is working with us as a wonderful partner. Ladies and gentlemen, at that spot, we will quickly go to the next item on our agenda, which is the impact of effective marketing on business growth and expansion. I'm very particularly interested in this session because I operate also in the media as well as PR and marketing communication space. And we've been talking so much about awareness. I want to believe that the panelists will help to do justice to this topic. The moderator for this panel is no other person than Madam Nneka Eneli, Director of Workforce Group. Please can we put our hands together for her as she comes up and to take up her seat so that we can start up the session, which is going to run for 30 minutes only, which also includes questions and answer. And then this particular panel will look at the concept to market ideology. We'll also look at what you have to do to win, and then with marketing. I'm very sure this is not conclusive without a discussion on artificial intelligence. Yesterday, we had an AI model or image that was singing. So we can imagine what AI also can do in terms of marketing communications, and of course, driving awareness as the case is. And so we want to say a big thank you to Madam Neka and the Director of Workforce Group that will be moderating this session. As the case might be, you might choose whatever part you want, whether in the edge or the middle. You know, it's all in your own purview, madam. And of course, Mr. Tokumbo Omonubi, Head of Products for Remita. Please put your hands together for him. Mr. Tokumbo, it looks like, are those your Remita people? Yeah, no wonder, I can imagine. These ones, they are just like in the sports stadium, and they are giving their whole people, you know, the kind of appraisement. Thank you. Tokumbo, please, I will need you to sit close to the moderator because it looks like you are going to be the only man standing on this panel. And then we'll have next to join Madam and Tokumbo, we have Ms. Buki Oshunke, Senior Product Leader and Marketing Strategist, who will be also be speaking on this panel. And certainly, Mrs. Oremeyi Aka, Chief Customer Experience Officer for InterSwitch, is here as a matter of fact. Please, can you put your hands together for all of our panelists? Great. So, well, you know, the women have a different way of doing it. Tokuma, did she greet you that way? Or it was just a handshake? But you're your own as a matter of fact. All right. I wish you all the best. Over to you, madam, for the next 30 minutes. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, my wonderful panelists, good morning again.
True.
I'm looking forward to this interesting discussion. So yes, we're talking about the impact of effective marketing on business growth and expansion. I was listening to him when he was giving his keynote address, and it was so interesting, you know, when he talked about the amounts that has been raised by the tech sector. We said about how many people can remember? Say close to $3 billion, right? And I know there's a startup week coming up soon, right? So people are looking for more funds, grants, yes? So really, the sector, what we're talking about, one major thing, yeah, he mentioned talents and growth, yeah? So one thing that I know that tech companies, tech organizations are looking forward to is constant growth, continuous growth and expansion. And that's why I want to discuss, you know, factors around that growth and expansion. And, you know, we have experienced, you know, experienced panelists here who have been there, done that. I want to, you know, to hear some of that, how they've done that in their different organizations. And I know they're still doing that, so that a lot of us can pick, you know, one or two things that will help us in this. So who do I start from? I don't want to, because my dear MC was saying we are doing women empowerment. So let me start from Tokumbo. Yes? That is not like we're doing women. Okay. Thank you, Tokumbo. Now, let me ask you this. In the context of Nigeria's evolving digital landscape, what factors do you think contribute to the development of successful and impactful digital products and services? And we know that there's a lot of evolution going on. So what do you think, what factors will you see, you know, contributing to?
Okay, so when we're talking about impactful products and services, developing impactful products and services, we have to ask ourselves the meaning of what we mean by impactful product and services. And essentially what we mean is kind of like products and services that impact the actual consumers or stakeholders involved. I want to make a very important distinction here. We talk a lot about the customer, right? But it's important to think about it like the stakeholders, and I'll tell you why. So essentially, we have different kinds of businesses, right? We have, you know, businesses that sell business to consumer, business to consumer. Sometimes when you think about the customer, you tend to think about your customer, right? But, you know, understanding how it impacts the actual product is appreciating how it impacts the final consumer, how it impacts other stakeholders like the regulators, the people the regulators are protecting, right? Fraud, you have to factor that in because that's a negative impact, you know. So it's actually understanding the kind of the customer base you're actually
customer segment you're talking about, right? Appreciating that customer segment, which is where marketing comes into play. So essentially, you find that a lot of the times you have a scenario where it's like products, build a product now and then market later, right? Which is a big problem. There is a synergy to be achieved within marketing and products that helps you to actually get that kind of like impactful products. It starts with understanding your customer and then, working your way towards actually meeting the customer's needs.
Okay, thank you very much. That was interesting. A round of applause for him, please. So yes, I hear, really, he talked about stakeholders, not customers, stakeholders. And it has changed. Back in the day, you would hear people who build products. So it's like a push effect. So it's whatever we offer you, you have to buy or you have to take. But now Tokunbo is telling us that, no, it has changed. You build products with the customer's need in mind, if I'm right. And that's what you said. So what is it? You're trying to achieve that synergy and you're making sure that you understand the needs of your stakeholders, your customers, the users, as the case may be. And then when you are building your products, you're making sure that the product actually meets the needs of the customers. So marketing will help to, achieve that synergy. Thank you so much. So let me go to my women. I will jump. I'm a non-conventional person, don't worry. So I won't go that way. I'm sure Book is expecting my question. No. Oreme, I know you are, the InterSwitch. My InterSwitch people.
I'm trying.
You're trying. I was telling her that I said that you have taken everybody. And she
Never stop, never stop. That's our motto.
So yeah, this is what you do best and what you've been doing. Let's talk about product leadership. Okay. So for you and maybe for InterSwitch, what does product leadership mean? To you, to the business, what is product leadership? Because I know that you've been around for a while. InterSwitch has been around for a while. So what does product leadership mean to you? And then how do you think it contributes to business growth? You guys have gotten to where you are now and you're still growing. You almost bought the whole of Okwawo. So what does product leadership mean to you? Let's hear from you.
All right. Product leadership is a strategic pillar. Product leadership is a strategic concept that you can actually win in the marketplace by deploying products that consumers will crave for, and that will give you a leadership position in your industry. That's the concept of product leadership. But breaking it down, how does a company achieve that? Like we said before, you build anything, you deploy in the marketplace, and consumers must take it. But things have changed. Now, what has made things change? First of all, technology. The fact that the consumer of today, when my colleague was speaking, we talked about the different generations, baby boomers, the consumers of today have a different orientation. They are digital natives. So therefore, for you to even try to win with any form of product, and we're not just talking technology product, across any industry, including automobiles, but since we are talking fintech, we can stay here. You must leverage, you must appreciate that the appetite of your consumer in this generation has changed. And so for you to lead with products, you must come from that customer perspective. It must be inborn. You must embed it in your DNA. Now, I will say, to make it easy, there are three things that you consider for a leading product. You consider the functionality, you consider the accessibility, and you consider the emotional impact or emotional experience. The functionality is, how does it work? You just enter and do this. If it's an app, or if it's a car, or even if it's whatever product it is, what is the functionality? Now, that is the base. That is what gives you a foot into the door. You must have the basic functions. But to go the next level, you talk of accessibility. How easy is it for your customers to access that product? So if you look at, again, the school of product leadership, they will tell you a product must be easy to use, easy to reach, easy to access. Of course, technology has driven that. The patience of customers is short. It's quick, everything. This is a microwave generation. Everything must be quick. Accessibility is critical. Then the last layer is the emotional. What emotional experience does that product deliver?
So when you see people, again, we can use the one we know, Apple. People will buy an Apple phone. Why? Because there's an emotional connection. It's not a money issue. Phone is phone. But there's something this does for you on the emotional level. And if you cannot crack that, what you will have is a functional product. And any competition, anybody can come and knock you out of the market if you are only competing on the functional level. So you must be able to combine the functionality, the accessibility layer, the emotional connection layers. Is this flipping? The emotional connection layer for you to deliver a sustainable product by business value. Because what gives a business value is that your customers came today and they will come tomorrow. So customer advocacy is actually the lifeblood of a long-term business. And in fintech is very important. In technology is very important because you can easily be thrown out of the market. So that's what I'll say. Those three very important, combined with market, gives you a complete picture that will enable you to win sustainably in the long term.
Awesome. A round of applause for her. That was really very insightful. I like that. Yeah, in fact, I like the fact that she started with it's a strategic concept. You know, we've moved from analog, yes? We're in the digital age or super digital. So it is a strategic concept. And those three key areas, three levers, functionality, accessibility, and that emotional impact. I know it's that emotional impact that keeps people, wanting to come back and come back, Yeah, so someone like me, I'm very big on user experience. And, like you said, in this tech age, you have all sorts of platforms, software. Once it's too difficult to navigate, please, I guess that's where the emotional, because functionality is there and all that. But in terms of that emotional, the user experience really matters. I guess that's where the emotional impact comes from. And I like the fact that I said for sustainable business growth. Because we are not here for, the short term. We are here for the long haul. And that's why how many years counting into Switch?
This is our 21st year.
Wow, 21st. Round of applause for Into Switch. 21st year. I like something she said. I know, sorry, I'm not an Into Switch, but I don't know why I'm repping Into Switch like this. But your colleague was, when he talked about card fusion, it was so interesting, because I was remembering back in the day when we started collecting cards and you apply for your card, the bank would tell you, come back they will call you or something. They will send you a message, yes. And you probably get a message like maybe 2 weeks after, your card is ready, pick up at this branch, and then you will go. And then he said that you can walk into, am I right, Mr. Davis? He said you can walk into any location. And he said not branch, he said location. Meaning that you're trying to also drive financial inclusion. Yes, so you can walk into any location and on the spot, they give you your card and that's awesome. So we can see that we are really evolving. Thank you very much for that, Orime. Yes, Buki, we're here. Okay, now let me come to you. I'm really enjoying this. I hope we all are enjoying this. I'm really getting a lot from, this interaction. So Buki, the digital age has started. So, and he was talking about some people saying AI will take over our jobs, take over everything. I'm happy to hear that that's not the case. So in today's digital age, how can businesses effectively integrate both online and offline marketing channels for optimal results? So we know that marketing has also moved and is still moving. So how do we integrate both channels, online, offline? At the end of it, we want results, sustainable results. So how do you think it would be that?
Okay. One of the things that, so first of all, I'm looking at the audience, right? And I believe that the audience is filled with a lot of young founders who, people who want to start their own technology business, right? And from what I've seen in the industry is that a lot of people are so focused on product, right? They're focused on the actual, building the technology. What I'm seeing more and more is that a lot of people are not thinking marketing. So I'm going to speak as a marketing professional. That one thing I want to beg you is think marketing first. Think sales first before you even start building. Because you could spend like a whole a whole year. Some people, most of their products, it takes about 6 months to go to market. Some people 1 year. And then you now get to the end of building the product and find out there's no one out there, you understand, who wants to buy what you have been building. So how do you integrate online and offline? For me, like, put technology aside, you need foot soldiers. You need a team of people who are out there speaking to customers and onboarding them directly. And I'll tell you why. In Nigeria, the way we work is that there's quite a few products, or the way we work in shopping is that most people have a long lead to decision making. So you can't just plan a digital marketing campaign today, put it online, put it on Google or Facebook, and think that somebody's going to see it 2 times, click on it, and immediately you have a customer. It doesn't kind of work that way. So you need to build your offline team first, because customers, people in general in Nigeria, need a one-on-one contact. They need you to be able to explain your product, right? And they need that as a sort of proof of concept. If they see your adverts online and they don't actually see foot soldiers in the marketplace, and when I say foot soldiers, you know, people wearing your t-shirt, giving out your free branded pen and branded key holder. I've gotten quite a few branded key holders today, you know, and which is why I even like conferences like this, because it puts a face to the names of the companies that we've been seeing online. When we come here and we meet them face to face, we know that, oh, these companies actually exist. They actually want to grow. So if I see a company here and I know that you want to grow, then I'm more likely to do business with you, because I know that you plan on being around next year, 5 years time, 10 years time. So integrating online and offline, I would say, believe you me, it may be a technological product, but you need your offline marketing first. What I call foot soldiers, field sales representatives, treat that team like gold. They are the ones who have the contact and the touch points with your customer, right? And one key thing that I always even share is that you need to actually have meetings with those guys on a weekly basis. They're bringing you feedback. You could be in the office, in the, you know, your remote team, building and building and building. Those guys will tell you, this feature ABC is what your customers are going to value. This feature XY that you're building, I beg, teach it, because I've spoken to the customers and what they're really after is this. So if I were you, put more of your marketing budget towards the field sales, towards the one-on-one contact, customer experience guys, customer success guys. I onboarded one of the technological products recently, and I was so impressed that they have customer success operators assigned to certain, and it wasn't even a VIP package. They're assigned to certain regions. I tell you, that girl hounded me every day on WhatsApp till I gave her audience to train me how to use the product. So that you see that app that you downloaded, we want you to be using it. Don't abandon it. And trust me, I'm now using the product. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. In fact, booking, I don't know, do you work with workforce? You know? She just touched me on my soft spots when she mentioned that you still need the foot soldiers, because that's what we do in my business. We merge, we integrate both having deployed the foot soldiers, we call them DSs. And then she says that integrate that with the online marketing. So some people, she says, think marketing first, think sales first. Don't just build your product and then leave that product hanging in the cloud or where you've hosted it, and there is nobody to buy it. So I like that, Buki. Thank you so much. Thank you. So I'll just look up time. I'll just ask one more set of questions and then we'll take questions from the floor. I would like you to just give 2 minutes in answering these questions. Let's try. I'm enjoying myself. I could be here forever. MC, can we stay here? Okay, Oreme, let's come to you. Yeah. Let's talk about AI. Because if we don't talk about AI, this conference is not over. We can't finish. So how is artificial intelligence transforming the landscape of digital marketing?
All right, great. So I was happy again that he said AI, and he said, but however, at the back of AI, there's the human intelligence. So AI is really just a tool. It's a tool that you can leverage and to bring it into the context of digital marketing. AI can help in digital marketing from several aspects. One, content creation, and you can say content fine-tuning. So like she mentioned, you send your foot soldiers out there critical. But as you start to scale, what AI will do for you is that it can take that massive pool of customer feedback and it can help you to run predictive analytics. and say, oh, based on feedback coming, these are the kind of, you can position these new features. These are the features that should be prioritized. It can help you do that analysis faster. So really, technology is just something that helps us be more effective. It's not taking away your thinking. It's not taking away your job, as long as you are bringing your humanity into that role. So AI helps digital marketing to be effective. But first you must always start with data. Predictive analytics can help us. As I said, you can predict customer behavior. You can predict customer next move. And so you can therefore know which product should I position for this class or this group of customers. Another thing that it can help you do is personalization with customers. Customers love to know that I am not just a number. Even, we always like it. You download your app and then the next day it says, hello, Remy, these are the kind of movies you like to watch. I'm recommending these ones. How did Netflix know the kind of movie? It's analytics. It's using data, to predict and to personalize my experience. And I love that as a person. I love that you know me as Remy, and I will stay with you likely. I mentioned content fine-tuning for digital marketing. It will help you as a digital marketer. You're not just throwing adverts out there on Google Ads, but you're able to actually maybe what words. AI can tell you how to fine-tune your content, buzzwords that will, connect with your customers. So you have a higher return on your marketing investment. And I think that's very, very, very important. Of course, AI will help you, as I said, feedback comes, fine-tune that feedback that can go back into product development. What Buki was saying, your foot soldiers are hearing, they are telling, and you can take that loop goes back into reiterative product development. AI can help you fast track that from a massive pool of customers, different scenarios, customers in different phases of life, different countries, different areas. So AI just makes you more effective through those various means. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Predictive analytics, yes, and using the example of Netflix, that's very interesting because you watch something on Netflix. I'm not an action movie, and then if they throw up action, I'll be wondering where this comes from. So yes, and then content creation, it helps you to scale. So we know that there is a lot to benefit from AI when we talk of marketing and building our businesses, and that's why it's interesting when we merge that with Buki's response on how we can integrate both that and then what we can benefit from AI to achieve sustainable business growth. Thank you. I'm just trying to rush this. Tokumbo. Yes. Let's see. How do you think businesses adapt and stay competitive in a market where AI is increasingly prevalent in the global marketing strategies? Now we're looking at, staying competitive, still using leveraging AI.
Yeah, so essentially, first of all, I think we need to appreciate the fact that AI has been around for a while, right? ChatGPT and stuff like that has just brought it to the fore, which is good. As Ore rightly said, these things are, we use it on a day-to-day basis, Netflix and whatnot, right? Modern businesses now, particularly marketing departments, have a lot of tools. Most of the tools marketing departments use are embedding AI to the front. There's such a thing as a product that is not, the market is not ready for, right? So this thing has been around for a while. The good thing is that ChatGPT brought it forward, OpenAI and all that. So you have tools like HubSpot now, right? SurveyMonkey and all these kind of tools that people normally use for marketing have brought AI to the front now, to the point that it's clear that, look, I'm capturing your customers' information, right? Email, chat, whatever, right? I'm helping you refine that information. I'm allowing you to write blogs, right? And, giving you clear kind of like, I'm letting you know that, look, I'm going to help you to fine tune this content, right? To meet this particular customer's needs. So now, loads of the tools out there is now readily available to people. People understand what it means now. You know that you're doing this email. This email is kind of fine-tuned specifically for that customer, right? This blog is fine-tuned specifically. You don't maybe need to employ somebody to work with some SEO expert now, right? Loads of the tools that you use for your site and all that, right? Will help you kind of like sort out the SEO so that it's actually the search engine optimization. Sorry, I have to make sure I'm not using acronyms. So it's actually clear that it's actually, helping you to actually meet your customers specifically. as time goes on, these things become more affordable, right? Tools like Amazon and our local ones like Konga and Jumia, they use tools like this that actually predict what customers want to buy and suggest it to them, right? So that information, that technology is readily available to loads of marketing companies. Just any tool that a marketing company uses, right, has given them a level of how do I put it now? Connection to use AI in one way or the other. And the great thing is that it's available on a beginner level and it's available at an expert level as well, so that people can actually benefit from it in either way.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ChatGPT, the famous ChatGPT, has made things easier. And there's so many platforms, so many tools. I know for marketing agencies, I'm sure, like from what Tokumbo says, in those days, marketing agencies, you see the creative people have to go through, think creatively. Now, designs can come out. I will not know they've used AI to achieve those, the content, the designs, and and he's saying a lot of things have been brought to the fore. These things have always been in place. SurveyMonkey has been around for a while, but just a few people, were aware of that. But now we're aware that we can use these things to achieve most of the things. And he mentioned, every year they say some jobs will be extinct, right? In the next, I'm sure by the end of this year, we'll see another list of jobs that will go extinct. And Tokumo is saying that, I don't want to say so, might be some SEO, SCM experts in here. But some of these things now, people can just pay, and the prices go down, as time goes on. You just probably pay $10 or less than that, and you will get that. So watch that space, mind that gap. My last question now, and then take questions. Let me go back to booking. Buki, you're a marketing guru. I know, and you're a marketing expert. Okay, so let's talk about just a few of the challenges. What challenges do businesses typically face when transitioning from a concept to a market-ready product? I know you've had experience in this area. What are some of the challenges, and how did you overcome them?
I shared some of the challenges unknowingly when I answered the last question, which is they don't look at the customer, talk to the customer, right? The biggest challenge that I find is not knowing your numbers. So again, I want to really, really appeal directly to the people we have in the audience, young tech founders, young or senior product managers, senior marketing leaders, senior product leaders. Know your numbers, know your metrics. The biggest challenge is either not knowing what you can sell in the marketplace, not knowing the number or the amount of profit or revenue you can make from your product. Meanwhile, you're spending billions building a product. And also not being realistic about how much money. So some people either don't predict how much money they can make from their product, or they overestimate. So I'm going to just share with you my favorite all-time metric, so that when you're building, you consider this and know that let this not be a challenge to you. CLV. Can we all say CLV? Customer lifetime value. Please calculate that metric before you build any product. It's as simple as, you know what? I charge maybe 50 Naira per transaction on my app. And I know my customer will make maybe 12 transactions a week or 100 transactions a month. And my customer is likely to stay with me for up to 5 years. Do those numbers. 50 times 100 times 12 months times 5 years or whatever. And know realistically how much you can make per customer, how many customers you can onboard, and how many customers stay with you in the long run, so that we don't go spending a product and at the end of the day we end up in the in the graveyard of technology products, in the graveyard of startups. I want every single person that's come here to be successful with their product when they go away from Nigeria Fintech Week 2023. That's why we're all here learning. So please keep those 3 letters in mind. CLV, please. Thank you very much.
Awesome. A round of applause for Buki, please. We've learned that. Please, can we say it again? CLV. Yeah, that's customer lifetime value. So you've been calculating that on. That's a really insightful, very insightful thing she's taught us now. CLV. Please, everybody, just go back and make sure you do those numbers. Numbers, that's the language of business, as we say in consulting. numbers if you don't know your numbers. So there's no point spending so much money from what Bookie is saying in, building that product, the concepts and all that. And then there's, it ends up, as she says, in the graveyard of tech products and startups. That won't be our portion in Jesus' name, as you say. Okay, thank you very much. That has been a very interesting discussion. A round of applause for all my panelists, please. A round of applause. Help me, please. Can we encourage them, please? A round of applause. Did you learn something? I've learned a lot just by moderating this session. I've learned a lot. Thank you. Thank you so much, Oreme. Thank you, Buki. Thank you, Tokumbo. I've really enjoyed this. Let's see there are a few questions.
All right, certainly, Nika, this is a fact. I stood here all through and just couldn't imagine that. It felt like I was back in a business school because you have to be dealing with very practical things as the case might be. As a matter of fact, I was so very much envious of Tokumbo because I know he was feeling all of the energy. You could hear how Buki was going, and then Oremi was actually even supporting her. Tokumbo, don't worry, very soon. I know that you'll be off that podium, but you don't want to leave. I know that. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's have questions or comments. Question number one, do we have another question or comments? Two, all right. Two, what's the third question? I'm going to take three